NTA International News.
Present administration is poised to entrench culture of accountability in Nigeria, says President Buhari. Ghana High Commission canvasses improved welfare for internally displaced persons. Plus, Chief of Air Staff says the military is winning war against insurgency and other security concerns in Nigeria. A very good evening to you. Welcome to NTA International News at 7. My name is Phil Obano. The present administration is poised to entrench the culture of accountability, transparency, and purposeful leadership in Nigeria for the country to take its pride of place in the Committee of Nations. President Buhari said this at the convocation of the Federal University of Technology, Akure, Ondo State, represented by Deputy Executive Secretary, National Universities Commission, Professor Chiedu Mafiana. The president urged university administrators to entrench the culture of change in their students and staff for them to key into government's vision. He said the government came up with a program tagged Education for Change with clear strategy to take education to the next level in the country, adding that the government will continue to place the sector in the front burner.
And beacons of knowledge in our society should be at the vanguard of the change by this administration for attitudinal change. The change mantra of our administration can only be meaningful and positively impacting if we individually and collectively place priority on doing what is right and honorable at all times.
He advised the university authority to make sure that the first-class graduates are not left to roam the streets, but that they should be employed by the institution. The former Minister of Agriculture, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, was conferred with honorary doctorate degree of Science and Management of the institution with the rights and privileges attached.
To be successful in life, be honest, have integrity, be simple. Simplicity is the best thing you can ever have in your life. Whatsoever you have set your heart to do, close your ears, pray to God, be focused, and achieve it.
4,000 graduates were bestowed with the university's degree at the 28th convocation ceremony. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo says that people in oil-producing communities deserve a fair deal, and the Buhari administration is advocating a new vision for the Niger Delta region. This was at an inter-ministerial follow-up meeting with relevant government ministries, departments, and agencies involved in the Niger Delta. The Vice President said the meeting is to ensure that the administration remains faithful to the promises made to the people of the region. All the ministers and officials made presentations about the next steps in the process of developing the region and how to deliver on the promises by the federal government.
The Vice President told the interministerial team that the meeting is to ensure that the administration is faithful to the promises and the spirit of the presidential engagements with the people of the region. All the ministers and officials made presentations about the next steps in the process, especially on how to effectively meet the commitments and deliver the promises made by the federal government during the interactive engagement tours led by the Vice President. Minister of State for Environment in his presentation disclosed that the ministry has now fully engaged the Ogoni Cleanup Project coordinator, Marvin Dekil, who also revealed that the potential contractors have been visiting the site to demonstrate available and suitable technology to be used for the cleanup. The Vice President also received a delegation of Western diplomats from countries involved in the oil industry in Nigeria. Vice President Osinbajo told the diplomats that the idea of the interactive engagements with the oil-producing communities resulted from President Muhammadu Buhari after he met with leaders from the region last November. The Vice President explained that the Buhari presidency is working on how to make a positive and long-lasting impact in the region in a way that transforms the lives of the people.
And stability and instability in the Niger Delta affects Nigeria, affects the region, and affects the world at large. And it's been a very open, very transparent, and a very illuminating meeting we had with the Vice President, as always.
It all has to do with bringing efforts towards resolution of the issues in Niger Delta. So it's an ongoing process.
The delegation was led by the Dutch envoy in Nigeria, Ambassador John Groffen, and others from United Kingdom, France, Germany, Italy, United States, and the European Union. In the State House, Jide Onifade, NTA News.
The Minister of Mines and State Development, Dr. Kayode Fayemi, has urged state governments to grant tariff and tax incentives to operators in the steel sector to enhance specialization in the country. Dr. Fayemi made the appeal in Abeokuta at a town hall meeting organized by his ministry for stakeholders in the mining sector. Akim Jimo has the details.
While addressing the gathering, Dr. Fayemi stated that diversification of the nation's economy was not achievable without paying much attention on the mining sector. He said the potentials that abound in the sector, if adequately tapped, are so enormous to take the country out of the present economic situation.
The self-sufficiency in cement production and opportunities for exports as well. What is even more interesting is the additional opportunity that coal has created.
While calling on the stakeholders to create enabling environment for the sector to thrive, the minister promised that the ministry will soon begin the disbursement of the federal government's intervention fund through the appropriate quarters. He identified inadequate finance, lack of up-to-date statistics, proliferation of illegal miners, double taxation, and bottlenecks involved before getting the consent of host communities as some of the challenges confronting operators. On his part, the Ogun State Governor, Ibikuli Amosun, stated that the meeting was apt, promising that government would continue to support the miners.
This will allow us to come up with more practical and improved conditions than we further promote the development of mining as a viable alternative to the economy.
Other speakers assured that the future of the sector was bright, adding that the state had become a destination point for local and foreign investors. The minister and his entourage thereafter embarked on facility tour of some mining sites owned by some cement manufacturing companies domiciled in the state, where the management of the organizations promised to continue to partner with government at all levels to make the sector more viable. From Ewekoro in Ogun State, Hakim Jimo, NTA News.
The presidential initiative on localized production of fertilizer in Nigeria will ensure food sufficiency as the program targets 1.5 million metric tons of the product to service both dry and rainy season. Ilyasu Ali Yakubu examines the difficult days of fertilizer accessibility vis-a-vis the presidential initiative aimed at curbing sharp practices in the system.
The federal government has been spending over 60 billion naira as fertilizer subsidy to over 14 million farmers annually. This is in a bid to encourage farmers to boost production in order to ensure food sufficiency in the country. This effort has, however, been sabotaged by the activities of middlemen who indulge in abuses, diversion, and racketeering of the product, thereby making it difficult for farmers to easily access the product at government-approved price. Research has also revealed that prices of the product usually skyrocket due to the illegal activities of middlemen. Worried by this development, the federal government under President Muhammadu Buhari initiated the committee to localize fertilizer production and distribution at a reduced price to farmers across the country.
We want this fertilizer to be applied so that agriculture can flourish, the farmer can make money, price of food can be reasonable, and Nigeria can be self-sufficient in food production.
When you are improving yields, you are improving production, you also have to reduce costs. That will give better profit for the farmer, and that will make him produce more, and that will make him competitive.
The presidential initiative is a right step in the right direction because one, it is going to bring about affordability, and also it's going to go a long way in regulating the industry.
Under this initiative, in conjunction with Fertilizer Producers Association, farmers are expected to assess the product without any hindrance.
Then the thing will help us, then he will make Nigeria to produce every fruit. Even this fruit where you see in the cost per market, everything go there simply.
Already, production and distribution of the product have commenced in 11 out of the 32 blending plants across the country to ensure food sufficiency in the country. With this development, prices of food and cost of production are expected to drop, with farmers having value for their inputs. In Abuja, Ilyasu Aliyakubu, NTA News.
And still on the drive for food sufficiency, over 30,000 farmers in Nasarawa State are to be engaged in sugarcane plantation and processing, which is expected to produce 480,000 tons of sugar for domestic consumption yearly. This is in line with the federal government's drive to revamp the sector. Governor Umar Tanko Al-Makura says 40,000 hectares of land have been provided for the project, which will be the biggest plantation in West Africa. Joshua Ojito has the story.
Research shows that Nigeria is one of the largest consumers of sugar in Africa, with a consumption capacity of 1.5 million tons, but still depend on importation in spite of huge potential for sugarcane production in the country. With a quest to diversify the economy with particular focus on agriculture, national state government is keying into the federal government diversification drive to woo foreign and local investors to invest in areas of comparative advantage. One of such crops that the state has comparative advantage is sugarcane, and already a team of investors have indicated interest to cultivate sugarcane plantation in Tunga, Awe local government area of the state, expected to produce 480,000 tons of sugar, which represents 27% of the nation's consumption.
It is in our own interest to ensure that we jealously guide and guard this initiative.
This is in addition to generating 96 megawatts of electricity for consumption in the state. The sugarcane plantation and refinery will create 30,000 jobs, while 10,000 outgrowers will be supported with seedlings and farm implements. Meanwhile, foreign investors have been visiting the state in recent times, indicating interest to explore agricultural potentials of the state in order to boost food production. In Lafia, Joshua Ojito, NTA News.
The federal government and well-meaning individuals and groups have been urged to give proper attention to the IDPs in and around the FCT to give them a sense of belonging. This was said when the Ghana High Commission and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees paid a visit to the Durumi IDP camp in the FCT. Oyeyemi Ajayi has the details.
This is the typical way the internally displaced persons at the Durumi Area 1 camp appreciate their visitors. To them, the visit by the Ghana High Commission to Nigeria and the United Nations High Commission for Refugees, UNHCR, is a great honor. Congratulating Ghana for our 60th independence anniversary, the coordinator of the IDP camp, Idris Ibrahim Aliyu, pleaded with the visitors as well as the Nigerian government to help them with more teachers for proper education of their children.
Firstly, we want our kids who are so traumatized to also have the benefit of being educated. So we have no teachers, and in the area of medication too.
The representative of the Ghanaian High Commissioner to Nigeria, in his speech, said the Ghanaian government will support Nigeria in all areas needed, adding that his country will continually do more to ensure that the internally displaced persons in Nigeria are comforted.
So this is not the first time. We've done it before in 2014, and we're doing it in 2017. It tells you that it's a continuous kind of support that we'll continue to lend to our Nigerian brethren.
Making donations like this, well, they are necessary. but they are not the best solution. The best solution is to ensure that the situation of refugees doesn't happen at all in the first place. So ECOWAS is involved, not only in Nigeria. We have problems in Mali, we have problems in Guinea-Bissau, at the moment.
We do recognize efforts of the federal government in terms of military offensive. Some areas, most of the LGAs today have been liberated, but in terms of humanitarian response, we still need to do a lot of things, because these areas have been completely destroyed by the Boko Haram insurgents while they were occupying those areas. So there's a lot of efforts for the reconstruction, rehabilitation, which are needed in these areas, so that we can start facilitating the return of both IDPs and the refugees.
The visit witnessed the presentation of food items and clothing materials to the IDPs. In Abuja, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
You're watching the news on NTA International, reaching you from Abuja, Nigeria's capital. Stay tuned for more reports after the break.
Change is here and it's going to stay. Change begins with you. Oh yeah, make we go. Change begins from within. Look at you, all get roll. Change begins with you and change begins with me. Change begins with me. Change begins with me.
NTA International. This is where the news begins.
And thanks for staying tuned. Let's now join Justin Bemui for some stories that made headlines in the outgoing week.
Hello and welcome to the Weekend Review segment of the Bulletin. The week began with President Muhammadu Buhari formally resuming work after his medical vacation in the United Kingdom.
The National Assembly equally acknowledged receiving communication from the President on his resumption to duty. Meanwhile, in the course of the week, issues relating to national unity, stability and socio-economic development took center stage when President Muhammadu Buhari had the first formal engagement with the leadership of the Parliament after his returning from the United Kingdom. You also heard that the week's Federal Executive Council meeting had the establishment of Nigeria Industrial Policy and Competitiveness Advisory Council approved in furtherance of the nation's Industrial Revolution Plan.
What we're doing here is to make sure that this government has a council at the highest level for interacting with industrialists and the private sector.
In the same week under review, President Muhammadu Buhari at the National Economic Council meeting directed the Minister of Finance, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, and the Governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Mr. Godwin Emefiele, to act appropriately and with dispatch in releasing the second tranche of the London-Paris Club refunds to the states to ease their financial hardships. The President made a strong case for settlement of unpaid salaries and pension liabilities of their workers. The President during the week also engaged critical stakeholders in the Secure Nigeria project as it devoted attention to national security and strategy. Turning now to happenings from the National Assembly during the week, Senate Wednesday rejected the nomination of the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, Ibrahim Magu. In a voice vote after his appearance before the Senate, the plenary rejected his nomination as substantive chairman of the commission, as all gray areas of doubt which led to his earlier screen being put on hold were raised during the screening.
The DSS reaffirmed and confirmed
that same letter that was forwarded to us on the 3rd of October.
Still from the Senate, you heard that the Comptroller General of the Nigeria Customs Service, Hamid Ali, appeared before the Senate in Mufti. After his brief but controversial appearance, the Senate asked the Comptroller General to leave, as his appearance was contrary to resolution of the Senate, which asked him to wear uniform and brief them over the now suspended policy on duty payment. The senators insisted that he must appear before them in plenary in uniform next Wednesday.
That the CG do return here on Wednesday next week at 10 a.m. in proper uniform and designation of the Comptroller General of Customs. Say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it.
Away from the legislature now, Minister of Information and Culture Lai Mohammed, in the week under review, re-echoed the federal government's determination to operate an open system where both state and joint state actors come together and take a common position in the interests of the people. The minister stated this at the meeting of the National Steering Committee of the Open Government Partnership in Abuja.
Actually, the beauty of including non-state actors is for them also to see the challenges government is facing. This is something when you are from there, from the outside, you would think everybody in government is just daft, everybody is just corrupt, or everybody in government is just inept.
And from the agriculture sector came a report that the federal government commenced production and supply of fertilizer nationwide as part of support initiative for farmers to produce at cheaper prices and boost employment openings for about 2 million farmers. The program is under the Nigeria-Morocco partnership. In the course of the week, you also heard that an ex parte order for the forfeiture of the controversial Malabo oil block by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission EFCC was set aside by the Federal High Court in Abuja. You were also told that the 23 INEC electoral officials accused of being complicit in the Rivers State rerun elections will be charged to court on the 7th of April. And just before we round off our review for the week, we remind you of a report that the Nigeria Foreign Affairs Minister, Jeffrey Onyema, and his interior counterpart, Abdurrahman Dambazao, met with Nigerian community in South Africa, where they assured them of federal government support to every Nigerian in diaspora.
And that does it on this segment of the news, the Week in Review. But please do stay tuned as the news continues.
Many thanks, Justin. Chief of Air Staff Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar has assured Nigerians that the military is winning the war against insurgency and other security concerns. He said this during the Nigerian Air Force First Quarter Route March for 2017 as part of efforts to improve the physical and mental fitness of its personnel. Defense correspondent Isaac Nkuma reports.
Air Marshal Abubakar says the quarterly route march comprising 10 kilometers walk and 10 kilometers jog will be mandatory so as to ensure that each of its personnel covers 80 kilometers annually for alertness.
Why do we need to do this? Today's challenges are very complex and very complicated. It does not only require a sound mind to be able to identify these challenges, dissect them, analyze them, and come out with a solution, but it equally requires a sound body. And that is why we need a sound mind and in a sound body.
The exercise saw officers and men of the Nigerian Air Force serving in Abuja embark on a 10-kilometer walk from the Mogadishu cantonment to the gates of Niger Barracks at Sokoro.
We like to assure Nigerians that we continue to work around the clock to ensure that our societies are secure, our communities are safe, and Nigerians can go about their normal businesses without any fear or any hindrance.
Customary with such physical tasks, there were light muscle stretching before and after the walk. In Abuja, Isaac Nkuma, NTA News.
Up next is Moplam Dakok with news from around the world.
Tanzania on Saturday agreed to send 500 doctors to Kenya to help address medical shortage in that country. The country Magufuli said the doctors will help mitigate the effects of just ended strike. He said the two countries agreed to pay the doctors handsomely and also pay for their accommodation, adding that East African countries have to hold hands of their neighbors when they are in need. And a man has been shot dead at Paris-Orly airport after trying to grab a soldier's weapon. Some eyewitnesses said the suspect targeted the soldier with a knife. Police believe the same suspect shot and slightly wounded another officer earlier Saturday at a road check in the north of the French capital. Anti-terrorism commandos from France's elite raid force were inside the airport as part of bomb sweep and ongoing security operation. Reports from Asia says China is accused of increasing its secret operations in Taiwan after the island elected Tsai Ing-wen as president last year. Chairman of the Defense Committee in Taiwan's parliament, Wang Ting-yu, said Chinese spies were masquerading as academics or business people and claimed Beijing was trying to sow chaos within Taiwanese society. Meanwhile, Beijing had previously denied claims that it sent spies to Taiwan. Muplang Dakok, NTA News.
And time now for a quick check on Sunday's weather